Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy CL Anthony and my main man Bryce Ward. What's going on, Bryce?
Same as always, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. So, busy NBA week, busy week in general. We got some shit to get into, Bryce. First topic, I want to talk about Joshua Primo. We brought this up a couple of weeks ago, and we do have an update on it. The San Antonio Spurs / Joshua Primo have settled out of court with the clinical psychologist that was accusing Primo of indecent exposure and other misconduct. So this situation is effectively over. Are you surprised at the quick resolution?
Um, I mean, kinda. It just depends on like what you think of the situation. Because if you didn't really think her claims held a lot of water, anyways, you were kind of hoping it would be taken care of quickly because hopefully she can't take this situation and run with it farther than it needs to be taken. So I'm not really sure. We weren't ever in the rooms with those two people. We can't say for sure 100% what happened, what didn't happen. I'm just glad it didn't take too long for them to figure it out. I'd like to just move on from it. Hopefully nobody's emotionally scarred.
Well, yeah. So we're not for sure if Primo will get another opportunity in the NBA, but the kid is like 20 or 21. So down the road, it might happen, but hopefully he gets the help and the counseling that he needs so he cannot be a menace in the workplace going forward. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. We got to say that, right?
Your gut feeling, what do you think? Do you think anything happened?
Yeah.
Gut feeling, yeah.
Yeah.
Excessive?
I think curiosity killed the cat. Literally. Allegedly. And we'll leave it at that. All right. So now we're gonna get into a little bit of Kyrie Irving stuff. So it was brought to my attention that there are some protests that happened at the Barclays Center this week when a segment of the Hebrew Israelites showed up and kind of made a stance outside the Barclays Center. And I was caught off guard because I had no idea that this happened. So that just tells you how I didn't know that I was this week, okay? But we do have a couple of images here. It was a peaceful protest, of course, but they just wanted to show, hey, we are here and we support Kyrie Irving. So are you surprised that this sect of Hebrew Israelites showed up to the Barclays Center to show their support for Kyrie Irving with all the other controversy we had swirling around him this month?
Absolutely not. Especially, I think a lot of it, because I don't pretend to be an expert or anything on the Hebrew Israelite nation, but I would imagine just like all groups of people, New York has a large population of them, or one of the largest populations of them, and so I think if you're gonna get if you're gonna get some protests, it'll be at a place like in New York. So, Kyrie being on the Nets, being in Brooklyn, just the controversy that's been around this situation lately. I'm not surprised at all that they came out to help support and kind of make a presence or create a presence for themselves there. And like you said, it was peaceful. There's nothing wrong with what was going on. So yeah, I I was a little surprised that there were like protests to begin with, because I wasn't expecting that, I guess. But the fact that it happened there, and when it did, that's not surprising. So I'm just hoping like no one can get no one can get offended. I don't want anybody to get offended by any of this, so that way we can just all get along to having conversations about topics that we don't know enough about or might not know enough about, and just get back to playing basketball. Like,
of course. This was actually the second peaceful protest demonstrated at the Barclays Center since the situation erupted. there's a group of Jewish residents, I guess, of New York, New Jersey, whatever. They had sat front row during one of the games, and they had the shirt. I cannot remember what the shirt and what it said, but they were actually the first ones to do the peaceful protests. And so now we have this one that happened this week. So I do have a quote here from Deacon Ethan, and forgive me if I said his name wrong because it's spelled a little differently. I haven't seen Ethan spelled this way, but he said it's ridiculous to have for him, speaking of Kyrie, to have to go through all these conditions just because he shared something. Who placed blame on Amazon as well for hosting the movie? But he was like, there's certain content in there that may be found to be offensive, but if he found some truth in the movie, then there shouldn't be a problem. So he's kind of saying what, echoing what a lot of other people have said, and then also threw in, hey, Amazon should be held accountable too. So to get back to basketball, excuse me, Kyrie Irving was asked about the protest, and then he spoke on it a little bit as well. So we're going to play this clip momentarily. Having TVs this morning, forgive us. We're going to play this clip of Kyrie addressing the protest. There was a certain reporter asking him about what was going on out there. And now we have Kyrie Irving.
Group outside, 100, possibly more. They were wearing a shirt called Israel United in Christ. They're a group labeled
Yeah,
as a hate group.
I think that's a conversation for another day. I'm just here to focus on the game.
Kyrie, but you've said this whole time that you didn't know what kind of what kind of voice you had. But if these are the people that are out here in your name, do you feel like that's a consequence of what you've done?
Again, I'm just here to focus on the game.
Kyrie, forgive me if you've been asked this already, but when you were suspended, there were a lot of players around the league. Jaylen Brown is one specifically that didn't like the way your suspension was handled. I'm just curious if you ever thought about filing a grievance or exploring those avenues at all.
I got to leave that to my legal team and leave it to the warriors I have around me. I have some strong people, men and women around me that are going to do everything possible to make sure that I'm protected and my family's protected and we protect one another. So, I'm sure some things will be done in the future, but there's no timetable on that right now.
Hey, Kyrie, I know you said you just want to talk about the game, but this morning you talked about recognizing the platform you have, wanting to unify. You're being asked about things that are being said in your name in reaction to the movie you promoted. I'm curious, just I guess how you go about deciding when's the time to use a platform and when's not, and when you decide you're going to react when you say someone's here to talk about basketball.
I would like to be on a platform where I could openly share how I feel without being harshly criticized or being labeled or dealing with outside perceptions that have nothing to do with me. Again, I said this morning I just want to.
Joe, we're going to stop it right there. Again, I think Kyrie handled himself very well, considering that he told those people 4 times that he just wants to talk about the game.
But that's not the hot topic right now. That's not what the media wants to talk about.
Okay, well, I think I just noticed his hat, by the way, and his hat is absolutely amazing. Organic Negro, but GORW. I like that. That's slick. I really like that. So hopefully now we can put this Kyrie thing to bed. But he did say something about his legal team that I thought was very interesting. And also I know Jaylen Brown spoke out against the Nets owner and against some other things that he felt was wrong. I will say I'm a bit surprised that the Players Association has not challenged any of this just yet. But with Kyrie mentioning his legal team, we may have a battle down the road.
Well, that's why I thought it was so. This is why I brought it up to you to begin with, because I thought it was interesting that Jaylen Brown did speak up about it, because he's the president of the Players Association, or
he's the vice president.
Second vice president. Yeah, he was one of the two. And I was like, if he's bringing it up, then it's going to have to be something that they talk about behind closed doors as well, because otherwise we would have heard maybe someone else talk about it, but specifically Jaylen Brown. So that's what I thought was interesting, is the fact that no other players are like talking about it like that, and he brought it up. I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Jaylen Brown off the court has the balls the size of grapefruits, to quote Vince McMahon. He's a very stand-up guy, so I know he was rubbed the wrong way about this. So Can he push it to the forefront with the Players Association? Who knows? And it comes down to C.J. McCollum and then the young lady that's the executive director. But who knows how far Jaylen Brown can push this? But I am surprised that they kind of let this thing roll, especially with the 5-game suspension and the conditions, considering that the infraction was not in the CBA. So it's just like they should have pounced all on that. So
Are you surprised that McCollum hasn't said anything?
I am, but CJ hasn't, and this is not a shot at CJ, but he hasn't shown me that he is a bulldog. That makes sense. So I guess from a player standpoint, I'm surprised, but as a human being standpoint, I'm not really surprised because he hasn't really shown that to me in the past. So some 15 years later, Dwight Howard and Shaq are still beefing. Okay, so this is the craziest thing. So already this month, and we didn't address this on the podcast, we've had Isaiah Thomas pretty much demand an apology for Michael Jordan. That's been going on for 40 years.
Yeah.
Now we have Shaq and Dwight Howard again. To be clear, I have always been on Shaq's side. I will always remain on Shaq's side. Dwight Howard is over in Taiwan playing against lesser talent, and he put up this phenomenal stat line. Shaq was just responding to that stat line and was like, hey, we get it, and I'm paraphrasing here, we get it, but the level of talent that you're playing against isn't that great. It isn't top notch. Shaq in his 50s could probably go over there and do the same thing that Dwight Howard did. And Dwight Howard, as he always has had done, Lord, my grammar this morning, Dwight Howard took it very personal. Now, I was surprised when he did the Instagram Live. I was like, whoa. But he took it personal, and it hurt Dwight Howard. And how do you feel about these two who have literally been beefing since the moment Dwight Howard stepped on the court?
Well, it's funny because of how it started. A lot of that I get. It wasn't like, it's not like it is now where Shaq's been out of the league forever and now Dwight Howard's coming on. It was a thing where it was a passing of the torch kind of thing. Dwight Howard was blowing up as the next big time big man. He was the #1 pick out of Orlando. People started calling him Superman. I mean, the comparisons are all there, despite their games being wildly different and Shaq being a much better player. Mm-hmm. But the comparison started. Shaq, of course, like everybody, took notice and had his opinion on things, and he was never really far off or wrong about his take on Dwight Howard, in my opinion. He, for better or for worse, he was kind of spot on. Mm-hmm. So, but I get, like, if I'm in Dwight Howard's shoes and I'm doing what I can and I'm a young player, I would probably respond and not take it too great either. I mean, Dwight Howard's always taken the opinion of Shaq, and he's kind of like downplayed it, or they've had their back and forth, and some of it's jokey, some of it you can tell gets to Howard, or at least it always has. It seems like it always has. Yeah. Dwight Howard, just in general, we know from the stories with Kobe and stuff, he seems like a more sensitive individual, doesn't, wears his heart on his sleeve, kind of, seems over the top, happy, like big time, you know what I mean? So with a lot of people in my eyes like that they can also get as down. And I know some of the comments that Shaq's made has gotten to him. You can tell from the reactions and stuff.
Yeah.
Dwight Howard seems like an individual kind of lost in like the last 5-10 years. And whatever brings him peace, wherever he can go and find happiness, if he wants to still play basketball and get paid and, have fun with it, he has a social media presence, things like that. He's trying to have a good time. He's trying to live his life. No faults on that. You know what I mean? But he is still playing basketball somewhere. It's not outside of the realm for Shaq to know what's going on because of social media as well and to comment on it. And that's his job. And after all the comparisons and after the history that those two have, I get where Dwight Howard's like, bro, you're so big. I'm just doing this thing over here. There's like, I don't get why you still have to talk about it. But it's something that's going on. And if Shaq wants to talk about it, he can talk about it. Howard's always been sensitive. He doesn't like it. He doesn't have to listen to it. But I get where they're both coming from. I really do. If I was Howard, I'd be like, what the hell is this? But I use that kind of stuff for fuel to do better anyways, or to pop back anyways. So it's just, I don't think it's anything that's ever going to change or end until kind of if Dwight Howard just is gone from the public scene and eye for like a while. But Shaq is just a goofy guy, and even if he really didn't like Howard or whatever, he would handle it kind of like how he's handled. Like no matter what, Shaq's going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is at this point. You know what you're getting. So just either leave it alone, don't care. Like you could say that to both guys. So, but I get it.
I can remember a time when Shaq first came into the league and people ripped Shaquille. He's not talented enough. He's never going to win a championship. All he does is dunk. Year 4 for Shaq, he was named one of the 50 greatest players in the history of the NBA. I was even like, this is too early. Like they should not. And some of the old heads were like, why the fuck is Shaq on this list? Now, with that being said, Shaq deserves to be on that list. But at the time, it was too early because Shaq did catch a lot of heat. And like he always said, I took it, I didn't complain, and he got better, which is accurate. Dwight Howard, on the other hand, would take the heat and then go into a shell and then mope and complain about it. So you have two different results. Shaq was just doing to Dwight what Wilt Chamberlain, what Bill Russell, what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did to him. And he got better, and he wanted Dwight to get better. He saw himself as the big brother, and Dwight just couldn't receive it in the right way. When I watched the video, Dwight was talking, he wasn't yelling, but it just, you could see the hurt in his face and his eyes, and he was like, I looked up to you, and just like, dude, he was really hurting. And so one thing I'm going to say about Dwight Howard is this. I thought of that joke Kevin made a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, leave him alone. He's in Taiwan. Leave him alone.
Dwight Howard, and I'm just gonna say it. Dwight Howard has some inner demons that, if you know, you know, that he needs to come to terms with. When he comes to terms with those inner demons, I think everything else in his life will fall into place, and he will be happier. Because, like you said, he just wants to be happy. He just wants to be free. He needs to come to terms with those inner demons. For the fans out there who don't know, y'all can Google it. Y'all will see it. I think that's what's kind of restricting him right now. He's dealing with that. He's been dealing with that for a long time. Plus, he's dealing with the realization that he's not wanted in the NBA, because that's pretty much what it is. And now he had to go overseas. Once a player goes overseas, that's pretty much a wrap. It is pretty much a wrap once you go over there. So he's dealing with that as well. So I think that's why it hurt him so much, because he's like, damn, I'm over here. I'm not even fucking with y'all, but y'all still saying shit about me. You get what I'm saying? But I hope he finds the peace that he seeks, but he's gonna have to come to terms with what he is. And I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. He found himself in that group of players that this seems like growing more and more, a little bit older, lost the step a little bit, but they still really feel like they should be in the league. And we talked about this offline, I think offline the other day, or maybe it was online. We don't know exactly what it is with all of these players that are having issues, but you can't, with like the talent that's coming up, it's almost like you can't give any reason, because the teams have no problem just moving on from you. And it's like once a couple move on, you only get a couple chances out there. Then the whole league is like, no, we're done. We're past you now. And it seems like, I don't know if because we have access to these players more, but it seems like we're hearing more and more players come out and feel this way. Even some guys that are still in the league are like, I don't know how much time I got. There's
a moment when the phone stops ringing. And I always say this: a lot of players don't retire; they get retired, okay? Because that phone stops ringing. I will say I did see a rumor that I guess Dwight's trying to get Boogie over there on the same team or something like that. So that's another one that's probably going to be done in the NBA shortly.
I saw a little quote the other day from Cousins where it was saying he was quoted talking to the Warriors GM, and he had something along the lines of like, why can't I get on the team or something? Like, and he's like, do you really want to know why? He's like, yeah. He goes, it's because nobody knows what you're going to do. They're all like, just the question mark, right? It's just, you don't even want to deal with that on your team. And Cousins hasn't had like the type of issues he had early on in his career, but he set a trend, and it's a possibility. Like, if you're not already in league with Draymond Green, after that punch in the locker room and after everything else on court, if you're another team and he's that old and he's bringing what he is to the court right now, how much longer do you see teams even putting up with him? It's just like the question mark. The question mark is what teams don't want to deal with. And now there's so much talent, it's like you don't have to deal with it if you don't want to.
Look, Eric Bledsoe is another one. He's playing overseas. So I'm like, Eric Bledsoe is gone? Like, what? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what is going on? It is wild right now. But we're in a transitional phase in the NBA. We've been in it. This is kind of like year 2 of it. These old players are falling off, man. I've seen it happen before. Now it's happening again. Falling off, bro. So you're going to move it right along to the push felt around the world this week. What's going on with your boy Patrick Beverley? Why he keeps pushing all these players? Like, what's going on? Like, what the hell?
Little angry guy.
Hey, a little troll. Like, what's going on now?
It reminded me though of last year's hit. So what he needs to do, he needs to hit like Jokic, and then Jokic needs to smash him into the ground or something.
Bro, when I was watching Inside the NBA and the guys were watching the clip, and Charles was just looking, and he was like, "Yeah, he needs a 2-piece." Just started cracking.
Yeah, for real.
He ain't ran into the right one yet, because like Charles like, "Yeah, he needs a 2-piece."
Look, Meta World Peace would have started another brawl, and didn't care who's around.
Look, he wouldn't have did that to Draymond.
Draymond would have hit him first.
Here's the deal. So there was apparently another hit a few plays earlier where they said Devin Booker hit somebody. I didn't see it. Forgive me. So Patrick Beverley was taken up for his teammate. DeAndre Ayton. I just think he's soft. Like, I know he didn't see Beverly coming, but he just crumpled. And yeah, he did fall over another player, but he just crumpled on down. And that's when, Beverly stood on him with fist clenched and shit, like he was going to do something. I'm just like, Lord have mercy. Why are we doing this right now? All these fake tough guys running around. Patrick Beverly, I got a message for you. Your first taste of the NBA was with the Miami Heat. If you want to fight somebody, number 40 on his last year will welcome you to come down. Come back home. And number 40 will oblige you. Look, if I'm 8 though, and I'm 7 foot, even though he's playing well right now, I'm coming up swinging. Like, I don't care, but he's so soft, bro. He's so soft. I'm not even mad at Beverly. But it's just like, hey, get up and defend yourself. Like, do something. Like, come on, dude. This is
cheap shots, man. Cheap shots.
But check this out. If the Lakers make the playoffs, Patrick Beverley is going to be the first one crying on the sideline.
Yeah. We did it. We did it. Everybody said we couldn't do it. We did it. And then the Lakers are going to trade him.
Yeah, he's going to get traded. We love you, Pat Bell.
He'll end up on Philly next year when they move on from PJ Tucker.
Don't do that. You are not going to disrespect PJ Tucker. I did see his stat line in the last few games, and people have been ripping him on social media.
I know.
Dude, that's easy to pay. $30 million just for Cardi. Oh, so I forgot to mention this before we move on to our team of the week. Ben Simmons has actually turned it up, Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we kind of had it wasn't an argument, but we had a debate on whether Ben Simmons could turn his career around or not. And I was saying, hey, it was too early into the season. Give him time to play back into his, self. So with the week that he's had, would you say you're going to turn the corner on Ben Simmons, or do you need more time?
Oh, well, we seem to have a difference on what we're even talking about here, because my argument was never that he couldn't get back to what he used to do. That was never my thing. My thing is, does he have the mental fortitude to stay poised and make important shots when his team needs him to in important playoff moments? I don't care what he does in the regular season almost as much as I don't care what the Phoenix Suns do in the regular season. Okay.
Don't spoil it.
Also, I wasn't talking shit about Ben Simmons' normal stat line and what he can do. That I believe in. I just don't believe that he can keep it together when things get hard. And if he proves me wrong on that, I will be happy to admit I'm wrong, because all I want him to do is to be the player I wish he could be anyway. It's not like I have a personal problem with the guy. I just think I expect more from him. Now, I never knocked him early on in the season because I thought this could happen. I said, you just give him time. The people started, coming down on Klay Thompson hard too.
Yeah, they go weak.
Yeah. Teams start off odd the first couple months of a season. Klay came back last year. They got younger. There's things to adjust to. I know some people, I think, were ready to write off Klay in a way where he's just not used as much. Not like we're trying to push him out of the league yet, but just that he's, getting a little bit older. But back to Ben Simmons, I never thought he couldn't get back to what he's doing right now. Let's just see if he can help the Nets win some playoff games, if they can make it to the playoffs, which I think they can. But no, kudos to Ben Simmons getting back to where he was before all of this happened. Let's just see if he can keep it together. That's what I want to see now.
I hope he can, because I like good stories, and this will be a good story. Yeah. But like you said, I agree with you. He has to do it in the playoffs. So we're going to talk about our team of the week, which Bryce already mentioned, and then we're going to deep dive into the Western Conference, because we've had some big movement since we last did this. So our team of the week right now, the hottest team in the NBA that Bryce still doesn't believe in, and I don't either, are the Phoenix Suns. They've won 4 straight and they have become number 1 in the Western Conference off this 4-game winning streak. Now, with that said, they beat low-level teams, but you're supposed to beat those teams. So they beat the only team that was tough that they had an issue with was Utah, but they beat the Knicks, they beat the Lakers, they beat the Pistons, and then they beat Utah by 1 point. Before this winning streak, Utah actually beat them by 1 point. So it could have actually been a 5-game winning streak. So the Suns, are you turning the corner on the Suns, or are we going to remain neutral on the Suns?
So Booker and Ayton have been playing amazing, especially last night. DeAndre had an over 20-20 game. He's been playing for all that Patrick Beverley hit him with. It didn't stop him. He's up, ready to go next game. It's fine. The absence of Chris Paul, we've been seeing Booker, I feel like, step up his game, and I always forget the guard who's filling in for Chris Paul. Yeah, he's been playing okay, So, but really, from what I've seen, the stat lines, and Booker and DeAndre Ayton have really, really been carrying that team. And it seems like DeAndre's been needing to step up in a big way, kind of like how the Lakers have needed Anthony Davis to step up in a big way. You know,
He's had a good week.
they need a lot from those guys to really be like dominant. But still, I think to win the championship, they still need one thing to help put them over the top, because I don't even believe, because of the way things went last year, I don't believe they could beat Dallas. And I'm not even sure if Dallas, you know, they're not even the best teams. You know, by the time the end of the season gets here, we'll see who really is the best team in the West at that point.
Right.
But I'm not a believer that Phoenix is coming out of the West, or that they could finish off whoever comes out of the East. So they could be great all season. It's just I think there's something missing there to really put them over the top. Even if Book and DeAndre do this in the playoffs, I still see them coming up a little short.
Well, Mikal Bridges has actually been playing well. He always plays well, but offensively, he's been playing so much better.
Yeah.
That's a difference versus now from past years, where he has really turned himself into a third scoring option. That could be because Chris Paul is not playing right now. But Mikal Bridges is a guy to keep an eye on, because this could give him confidence going into a playoff run, because they're going to need all hands on deck. We already know Luka's going to shit on them. We already know that. We accept that. It is what it is. Luka has no fear of the Suns whatsoever. But they could clip someone else, let's say Portland. I would still choose Phoenix over Memphis. But if they were to go to the finals, like you said, they would probably lose finals, conference finals, or whatsoever. So looking at the West, again, Phoenix is number 1. Denver is number 2. Number 3, the New Orleans Pelicans. Number 4 is Memphis. Number 5 is Portland. Number 6 is Sacramento. You already know I'm on that train.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the play-in, you got the Clippers, you got the Jazz, you got the T-Wolves, and then you got Golden State. That's your play-in right now in the Western Conference. Any surprises that you saw on there?
Golden State
Being so low?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I still think they figure it out. I'm not worried about Golden State.
Yeah.
Surprises besides that?
Who did not mention?
I know
Who did not mention?
Oh, the Lakers, of course.
Oh, no. I didn't mention Luka. Luka's not even in the playoffs right now.
Oh, yeah. That's rough. But I think it's weird. It's like, it seems like any body of real talent that you see emerge in Dallas, they ship them out. I just don't know how much Luka can do on his own, and if the rest of the league can figure out the rest of that team, and you just let Luka eat, that's fine. But
That's fine.
they might not find themselves. The West is going to be way tougher this year. I know we keep saying that, but it's going to be tougher. Dallas could find themselves not making it.
Here's the trend in the West. Dallas, the last 10, they're 4-6. The 2 top teams as far as the last 10, believe it or not, are Sacramento and Golden State at 7-3. So Golden State's start was rough, so they had to go 7-3 to get at 500, because they're 10-10 right now. So Golden State's really kind of turning the corner a little bit. So is Sacramento, which is pretty good, because I'm all in on Sacramento. Looking at the East, the top teams.
Real quick. Mm-hmm. I haven't watched any Denver.
Okay.
What's going on there? Like, have you seen anything? Because they're quietly, what'd you say, number 2?
They're number 2 right now. Jokic, that's okay. They're 6-4. Jokic missed like 5 games because he was in COVID protocols. Aaron Gordon has actually, I'm not going to say stepped up, but he's been playing decent basketball to offset Jokic not being there. I think he had over like one game, he had like 25 points or something, which for Aaron Gordon is.
That's his game of the year.
Yeah, that's good for Aaron Gordon, right? So looking at the Eastern Conference, we don't have a team that's won 3 straight games. Like, it's crazy, right? We have 3 teams, forgive me, that's 1-2, because we always start with the East first, but there was no standout. So the two teams right now that's on a 2-game winning streak, 3 teams, forgive me. Boston, Miami, and Charlotte are the best team, not the best teams in the East, but the hottest teams in the East right now. Boston in their last 10 is smoking everyone at 9-1, because Boston's number 1 in the East right now, followed by Milwaukee, then Cleveland, then the surprising Indiana Pacers, the Atlanta Hawks, and the Philadelphia 76ers. Those are your top 6. Then we go with Toronto, the surprising Wizards. I don't know where the Knicks came from, but they're there. And then you have a tie, Brooklyn and Miami, for that last playing spot. Craziness. Craziness. And we're still hurt, by the way. So Miami's coming, but we're still.
That's the case with Philly. Philly, no Embiid.
Oh, yeah.
Embiid day-to-day. Harden's been out, and Max.
Yeah, Max is going to be out for 3 weeks. Yeah.
The leading scorer right now is Tobias Harris.
Hey.
Who is playing good.
Yeah.
But that's an old veteran team with Doc Rivers. Just those things alone can carry them and maybe keep them relevant, so that way they don't fall too far out.
Philly's deep enough to where, because they haven't had Harden now for 2 or 3 weeks, and they're 6-4 in their last 10. They didn't have Embiid for about a week. They're deep enough to where they can still kind of get through it. It's kind of similar to Miami. We're deep, but still, we need our guys.
Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy has a hurt knee. I don't know exactly.
In this time though, Bam has been doing more. Hero's been doing his thing, but Bam has been the one that I've noticed. Bam and Kyle Lowry, compared to what they were doing at the beginning of the season, are playing better now.
Dude, Kyle Lowry is going to be gassed. He's going to be gassed. But no, Bam, the last game particularly, Bam, I think he had 38 and like 12 rebounds or some shit like that. That's very, very high for him. So I was impressed by him. So yeah, they're kind of holding it. They're holding it together a little bit. They're 9-11. They're holding it together until, because we just got Tyler back too. So now we're waiting on Jimmy to come back. And I don't know exactly what's going on with that knee. They haven't said what it is. They just said knee. I'm like, okay, what is it? Like, I don't know. But you know how the Heat is. Whatever. As far as I know, Jimmy could be in the Bahamas somewhere on vacation. I don't know. But once he gets back, then hopefully we can get into that top 4. If not, it's going to be an early trip to Cancun. Early fishing trip, But congrats to the Suns being the hottest team in the West right now. Congrats to them. So that is going to be it for this week's episode of the Hardwood Nation podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share our content. Comment on our videos. We always respond back. We are out.
See ya.